Everyone, Z Miller, and welcome back to Triple Threat Comics YouTube channel. Today we have Reilly Brown with us to talk about his project that he has co-created with his son, Thunder Guardian.
Hey, how you guys doing?
I can't thank you enough for coming on. It's been an honor to actually have you on to talk with us today.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Anytime.
Yeah. Okay. I usually typically ask this for new guests. How did you get started in the business?
Well, I went to college for illustration, and I always loved comics. So, like in college, me and some friends would make self-published, anthologies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And when I graduated, I just lived at home waiting tables for a year, saving up money. But this was in Virginia, and there's no publishing in Virginia. At the time, I was like, just out of college. I just wanted to be like an illustrator. Like I would have loved to do comics, but I wasn't putting all my eggs in one basket. I was just like getting into any illustration.
Yeah.
But I around this time is when like message boards and forums were really popular, and so I met a bunch of other comics creators through like Pencil Jack and comic art fans and stuff like that. And so and we're all kind of starting out together, and so we started working on an independent anthology thing, because that's sort of what you do when you don't have anyone willing to pay for your stuff. So I was just making creator-owned comics, trying to get my portfolio together while I waited tables. And then eventually I was just like, after a year, I was just like, okay, there's no publishing in Virginia. I got to move, to where the action is, to like either DC or New York or LA or something. And my family was from New Jersey. And so I called up an uncle, right outside New York City, and was like, hey, Uncle Todd, I'm coming up. I want to, crash with you on your couch for like 6 months or so and see if I can make this artist thing happen. And so he's like, yeah, sure, come on up. And so while I was doing that, I was also with these guys that I'd met on the various message boards. We started going to comic conventions, which I'd never really done before. I'd been to a couple, but these were buddies that had been doing it for a while, and so they kind of showed me the ropes. And we all got along really well. So we formed 10 Ton Studios, which, we had our own message board and all this stuff online for years. And, just going to comic conventions and, doing anthologies, stuff like that, doing online, challenges and contests and stuff like that. And, eventually just going to comic conventions, I showed my stuff to some editors at Marvel, and they were like, hey, yeah, we like what we see. Let's, let's stay in touch. And I was like, okay, cool. And it wasn't, it was like, I told this story better before. Like I'm kind of all over the place right now, but basically, like, I was at a comic convention, and there was a really short line for the Marvel portfolio review, and a buddy of mine's like, hey, you got to get in line. And I was like, I've never met anyone who's actually gotten a job that way. And he's like, yeah, but there's a short line. You'll get the editor's contact info. What else can you be looking for? And I was like, okay, that's true. Let's give it a shot. So I sat down, and it was John Barber, and I show him my portfolio, and he'd been there all day. He'd clearly been was tired. And was just like, oh man, like, all right, another guy with his portfolio. Let's take a look. But he opens it up, and he immediately like sits up a little straighter and is like paying attention. And I was like, oh, that's not a bad sign. And so anyway, he gave me his card and was just like, hey, stay in touch. And so then, I got home from the convention. I emailed him some samples. Said, hey, just, want to say hi. I appreciate you looking at my portfolio. And he was like, okay, thanks. I'll stay in touch or whatever. Just keep me updated with when you make new stuff. I was like, okay, cool. But then it was like a week later, I was out walking the neighbor's dog. And at this point, I said I was told Uncle Todd I'd be crashing with him for about 6 months. That was in January. And now it was June. I was like, all right, I'm going to either have to get a job or have a conversation with Uncle Todd about what we're going to do next, because we're starting to live on borrowed time here. But, I'm walking the neighbor's dog. I got the dog leash in one hand, a big bag of poop in the other, and my phone starts ringing. And I'm trying to figure out how to answer it, get the poop bag over here and like the leash over there. And, the number was just like, unknown number or whatever. And so I'm like, okay, who's this? I was like, I should probably just hang, like, whoever answers these, but whatever, I'll give it an answer. And it was John Barber from Marvel. And he's like, hey, just wanted to see what your schedule is like, see if you're available to do some work coming up. And I was like, I'm pretty busy looking at this and this, but let me what do you have in mind? Maybe I could squeeze you in. And so long story short, that became the Marvel holiday special for 2005, which was my first like professional published work. And so then the thing is, when you break into comics, so I was like drawing this and I was like, yes, I've done it. I like got hired by Marvel. Like, I'm in. So I did that and I thought it turned out pretty well. It's always like you're pulling your hair out as you get closer to the deadline, say, oh my God, can I even get this done? Like, I'm losing it. And then, they say, oh, cool. Thanks, man. Looks good. And then you don't hear from them for a long time. And I was like, okay, send some more samples. They're like, all right, great, man. We'll be in touch. Crickets. And I was like, crap. Like, I thought I was in, but that was just like, a gig. It was just like a lucky break. Or maybe they saw it and they hated it and they're never going to hire me again. Like, who knows? But I pestered them enough and I'd swing by because I was pretty close to the offices. I could just swing by every now and then. And I met the other editors and stuff. And eventually, Nicole Booth was looking for someone to do some fill-in issues for Cable and Deadpool. And I did those. And it was pretty soon after that, I just took over that whole title. And and then, I was on that for years. And when that ended, I was such a regular that they just kept finding work for me for a long time. And then, so that's how I got started. And then as the years went by, I bounced around to other things. But yeah, that's the origin story.
That's a great origin story, especially when you're just having a phone ring and you're walking a dog and you got a bag of poo in the other hand. I'm just visualizing it because I'm also an artist myself, so I'm visualizing how to draw this panel. Like, oh, God, this is stuff.
I have like the dog like running around me over this way as I'm trying to control him. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm also doing it in a very superhero way, pulling out the phone, and this, exaggerate. Yeah. But that's a great story, and especially when you're just starting out and all that, and suddenly you're getting Deadpool and Cable. What was it like working on that comic?
Which was written by Fabian Nicieza, who was, I grew up reading comics in the 90s and he was like the X-Men writer for like the longest time. And so I was kind of like, I don't know, like it was just awesome. Like for your first real, regular gig to work with one of your, I don't want to call him one of my comic book heroes, but because somebody might tell him I said that about him and I absolutely can't give him that satisfaction. But let's just say it was pretty cool.
Well, that's good. Okay, so you worked on that for a while there, and then you moved on to another project. What was that?
After that, I think the next thing was New Warriors or something like that. I think it was. I'm trying to remember if there was anything in between. I don't think there was. I think it was New Warriors, written by Kevin Gravis. Yeah, and I did that for a few issues. And it was, I think that was towards the end of the series, so I wasn't like, I just had a few issues on there, like the last storyline or something, but that was fun too. It was kind of a weird title because it was called New Warriors, but it had almost none of the actual New Warriors. They were mostly X-Men guys who'd lost their powers, and then got new powers, so they weren't even going by their X-Men names. It was like Jubilee was one of the main characters, but her name was Wondra, and she had like big power gloves, so she could punch real hard. And it was really kind of like a weird series.
Yeah, it sounds weird. I remember seeing this in stores. I was like, "What is this?" You
Yeah,
know, because I always say you pick up the comic, you say, "Oh, look at what's this new title," and they're like, "Wait a minute, there's some of the characters here I recognize, and they don't have the superpowers. What's up with this?"
yeah. But the real challenge of that one, at least artistically, was that Kevin had a real bad habit of putting every character. First of all, the team was like maybe 7 or 8 characters, and he would put
Yeah.
all of them in every panel with something to say. So like every single panel was a crowd scene. It was, oh man, the deadlines on that were so rough, dude. Like just trying to just like the amount of time I'd have to spend just to like draw the most basic panel was driving me nuts.
Oh my god.
At this point, I'd moved out of Uncle Todd's place. I was living on my own in the city and stuff. So, uh, you know, but yeah, I don't know. It was fun, but a challenge.
Well, I can imagine. I mean, crowd scenes every panel. You know,
Yeah.
7 characters. No, yeah,
Well,
I would
yeah.
have blocked out some of the scenes. You know, just to have some of the
Well, yeah.
close-ups.
If you ever flip through, and because then like there's also you got to figure out how who's speaking first and everything. Because you have to make room for the word balloons, and so that like they can kind of point to the right characters in some way that the tails aren't weaving all over the page. Um, and so but between panels, different people would. I don't know. It was. I just remember spending so much time like trying to coordinate where everybody was sitting in a certain scene to like, or where they were walking if they were all walking down the street together, so that they could all be talking to each other. I don't know. It was challenging. Every project had a challenge.
Well, yeah,
Um, and then after that, I did a bunch of issues of various Hercules series.
yeah.
And then I think there was some like Marvel Monkey stuff thrown in the middle there too. So I felt like I was kind of just doing really random stuff for a while they were trying to look for a place for me to be more regular artist. And
Mhm.
I more or less ended up in like on the Hercules books. But as that title was like starting to this was like a kind of a weird time at Marvel where they do this frequently now, but they didn't have as much of a formula for it at the time,
Mhm.
where they were all about trying to start like with new number one issues to like boost sales or get more attention in the press or whatever. It's like, oh, it's a new series, which
Yeah.
would always get more attention than it's issue number 7 of a series that's been going on for 6 months. So I was kind of on a few different titles there, and
Yeah.
it and that was fun, man. That like the one story that came out of that was my favorite. It's one of my favorite stories I ever did was Hercules for some reason disguises himself as Thor. There's because there's some elf princess that he has a thing for. So he's like, oh, okay, like in Niflheim or some one of the
Yeah.
9 realms. And so he's like, well, I'm gonna dress up as Thor to try to get some action from this princess. And like it works, but then she but then she like now that she has Thor on her side, she wages war on Midgard. And he's like, oh no, what did I just do? So then Thor has to be the defender of Earth or whatever, who is Hercules. So Thor now dresses up as Hercules to fight against Hercules dressed as Thor. And it was so much fun. It was just such goofy, great, Greg Pak and Fred Van Lente dialogue and action and everything. Um, and yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay. During this time, you said you were working on different towns. I assume one of them was obviously Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, I think that came after the Hercules stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, and I did like yes, because Fred was writing well some of that stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
I worked on like 4 issues of Amazing Spider-Man. Um and and then and some Scarlet Spider or wait, what was the book? Was it Scarlet Spider or yeah, the one where Kane was calling himself Ben Reilly and living in Texas. I
Yeah,
just remember
that was the one.
sometimes the comic, like, one of my favorite parts about comics is, after so many decades of stories, when like you have to explain, like, okay, wait a minute, this is the clone of this guy, but he's calling himself this other clone's name, and it's from this, like, I love how convoluted it gets.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah, but I would assume at this point you started to think about, okay, maybe I want to create some of my own stuff again, right?
Yep. Yeah, that it really is right around that time. Because I was working in an art studio in Brooklyn, and I, just hanging out with friends and stuff, working in the studio, and there's a lot of other creative people around. And really like I'd been itching to do some creator owned stuff, and me and my buddy Kurt were just shooting ideas around. And he was a writer, and we'd never actually done anything together. So I was like, man, we've got to do some kind of project together. And around the time Comixology was just coming out, and I was like super excited about the possibilities of like the digital comics, and I loved their format and stuff. So we made this comic Power Play that was really like designed to make use of that digital format to, like, if anybody hasn't used Comixology, I'm not sure to what extent it even exists anymore, but I think like if you have the Marvel app or something, it's the same sort of like the guided view system was their thing, where
Yeah,
like they could have a whole comics page, but it zooms in on one panel and then it'll like scroll over to the next, and like the different types of transitions it had, I thought were really exciting to use for like storytelling purposes, and being like, oh, okay, we could like start at the bottom and kind of scroll up really far to like show a really big building, or fade from one thing to another so it looks like kind of a sort of simple animation type of thing.
yeah.
And uh so we did Power Play, and that was kind of like a proof of concept of how it would work, and that was a lot of fun. um and then I went back to Marvel with that and said, hey, look what I'm doing. uh Look what I'm doing on my own project. Like, you guys are working with Comixology. This would be something really cool to do with you. And I think like Mark Wade at the same time was like also super on this type of digital comics. And so they were like had just started doing something with him there. And but they were like, we want to have a Deadpool project for our digital platform because Deadpool's really
Mhm.
popular, and like since you've been doing it, you're the guy for this. So I teamed up with Jerry Duggan, and we did the Dracula's Gauntlet storyline, which was,
Oh,
I think it came out in print and digital at the same time, but that was the story where we introduced Shikla, who became like a regular character for a long time in the series.
yeah.
And that was a lot of fun. Like I think like that's I feel like I always feel like that's some of my best work. Like if anybody reads that, but if you get the chance to read the digital version, there's some stuff in there that really just doesn't translate to the print version at all. Like we really do some cool stuff. Especially like I felt like every issue I sort of took the credits page as my like, chance, or the credits page, like the credits section, as a way to really kind of show off and do something clever that just doesn't actually fit into the story at all. Um, and I don't know, it's a lot of fun, and it'll be something that like at conventions, people would come up to me like mad that I was doing digital comics. They're like, I like comics in a certain shape and a certain size, and you can hold it in your hands and smell it and lick it and rub it on your face. And I was like, I agree. I'm like, hey, I'm not against that. I love that too. But have you seen what we're doing? No, I don't look at, just look at what we're doing. I don't look at, well, here, like, here's my iPad. Here, just take a look. And they're flipping through it and they're like, oh, I see what you're doing. This is awesome. I'm going to check it out. And like, I would see them do a total 180 right in front of me. And it was really, it was one of the most satisfying things to see someone who's like mad at me. And then they like, by the end, they're like, oh, I get it now. And they're like about to go buy it. So it really is, it was a lot of fun. It was something pretty cool. Um,
Yeah, because again, you're pretty much changing the game right there, and also giving another person a way of looking at comics, not just
yeah.
the traditional print, because they can also scan and zoom in on certain panels, going, wow, look at the insane detail that goes into this. Beautiful
Yeah.
line work, stuff like that.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah. So yeah, that was fun. And then, they always kind of drag me back to do more Deadpool stuff every now and then. Although it's been a while now, but for a while I felt like, every 6 months to a year there was some other Deadpool project they were putting me on.
Yeah, and that was Deadpool Cable split second.
Yeah, well that came a little bit later when
Mm.
I guess this was around the time that they were getting ready for the first Deadpool movie to come out. Or no, wait. Was this? Yeah, the first Deadpool movie to come out, and they were like, okay, we want to have a book on the stands that's by Fabian, because he hasn't, he at that time he wasn't working at Marvel anymore. And so they're like, hey, let's get him back to do a Deadpool thing, so it could be like a new thing by the creator of the character. And the last thing he'd done for Marvel was the Cable and Deadpool series that I worked on him with. And so we're like, okay, let's, just get them back together. And so that was fun. It was great to work with Fabian again. And, and that came out digitally also. So we were playing around with that stuff again. And, yeah. And, that was really cool. And then and once I was working with Fabian again, we started talking about, like create our own projects and stuff.
Yeah.
And then we started working on Outrage for Webtoon, which, like Webtoon, like I had a friend who was working for Webtoon. He kept talking it up, and he's like, let me just introduce you to the guys. And, Deadpool movie had just come out, so they were really like excited to work with, like, they're like, oh, if we could talk to Fabian and get something for him. And they wanted to do at the time they're doing a big push, because they had a lot of like Korean comics and comic artists, but they really wanted to do a push to get some American comics creators on the platform. And so they had me and Fabian. Stan Lee was writing a series for them. I think Justin Jordan had something. Like there was a bunch of like well-known comic book creators, like American comic creators over there.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so and then Webtoon has like the biggest audience in the world, so it was like crazy to see like it was really kind of fun, just the amount of response we'd get with every new chapter that came out. Like we'd have like hundreds or thousands of letters on every chapter, like of people just. I was like, oh wow, like they're getting so into it, like it's cool, and so that was a lot of fun.
I remember vividly because obviously we followed each other on Facebook and all of that.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing pages of outrage, and also just the responses alone. I was like, well, first of all, the artwork looks sick and the story looks fantastic. And I'm like, there's no wonder they're getting this many coverage, because it's really that good.
Yeah. Yeah. So so that was a lot of fun. And and I'm always all about trying to expand my audience, to like reach new fans and stuff like that, or bring like the medium to like reach out to new fans. So, like, and different places where people get comics from. Like one of the things I've learned is that it's really interesting how the comics industry, it's so like the format of the comic, like the size and shape of the comic, is available in very specific certain places and read by very specific certain types of people of a certain age and stuff like that. So, like the comic book stores, like the Marvel and DC readers, are like largely people that are my age or maybe a little bit younger, but then like to being much older. And then like people younger than that are really into like manga or graphic novels or what, the type of stuff you get at Barnes and Noble. And then, but aren't, always that like consistently available in comic book stores. And then the people younger than that were super into Webtoon, which is only available on their phones, and so it was just kind of interesting to be like, oh, here's a whole new audience that has never seen my work before and has no idea who I am. And to be able to introduce myself to them is really cool.
Well, it also builds up your fan base a lot because now you're
Yeah.
getting a younger generation in to experience your work and also say, you know what, I want to check out more of this artist. What else has he done?
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, that's always what you hope happens. And sometimes it
Oh
does,
yeah,
sometimes it doesn't, you know?
I like to think it does happen. I like to think it
Yeah.
does happen because a lot of ways it does happen, and
Yeah.
it's supposed to unexpected because then you're suddenly looking at your social media and you have new fans, new followers. And you're like, whoa,
Yeah. Well, especially I always like to try to get like if I could get a younger audience or like that, because I feel like the most important comics you can make are somebody's favorite comic or their first comic. And
yeah,
so like or maybe not their first one, but the one that really like gets them to like reading comics where because they'll always remember those issues and the ones that they'll look back and say, "Oh, this is when I started reading." And so you really can connect with them on a level that is different than the people that were already reading comics before I was born, and like their favorite it was Jack Kirby when his stuff was new. And it's like I'm never gonna compare to him because that's, you know, but like to meet younger audience, I can like kind of bring them up as being my fans to start with. And
yeah.
that's really kind of a great way to connect with people.
I agree.
Yeah.
And having said that, I think we this is a perfect segue into our main topic, which is Thunder Guardian.
Oh yeah. We'll talk about a younger audience. This is so Thunder Guardian is a comic that I make with my son. He's in third grade now, but he was in kindergarten when we first kind of like he was coming home from kindergarten with these characters and stuff he'd draw, and I'd ask him about them, and he was coming up with all these like the most fun, craziest stories, and I was like, dude, this is better than any script I'm getting from Marvel or DC. Like I want to draw this thing. And so just sometimes I would just draw my versions of his characters and stuff. And uh but then a couple years ago I met these guys who were making it's like a newspaper strip or a newspaper called A Kid
Yeah.
and a Comic. And the whole thing is comics pages. And there are some really good like comics creators doing some and some like newbies and stuff like that. And they were like, "Hey, would you be interested in doing something with us?" And I was like, I've got this one idea, like I've been dying to do. And, like it's a newspaper that comes out once every 2 months. So it's not a huge labor commitment. I'm like, oh, this is kind of perfect to do with my son, Will. And so we've been doing that for a while. And now we are doing a collected edition of the Kid in a Comic strips for that you can check out on Zoop to get like collected all in one place. And actually, I've got one of his drawings here that I'm so like these characters, I'm just like, this is awesome. Like and all these guys have names and powers, and he'll tell me all these stories about them. So so that's just a ton of fun for me. And
Well, it's fantastic.
this is actually is a this is actually what I'm working on right now. It's his so he drew this scene, and then I'm going to draw this as a print that's going to be exclusive to the Zoop campaign. So
Ooh.
so I'm working on it right now, but it'll be like my version of like all of these characters doing this like drawn in my style. So
That has to be so fun for you and your son to collaborate with each other on something like this.
yeah, oh yeah, totally, man. It's a blast. And he gets really excited about it. Like I love when he like for Christmas I printed up a t-shirt with like Thunder Guardian on it and everything. And he loves wearing it and stuff. And when the first Kid in a Comic paper came out, we went down to the local comic store and had a signing, and people were there, like kids from his class were coming to ask for autographs and stuff. It was really great.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
You
But
must have been in heaven.
I mean, yeah, he just thought it was so cool. And but it's one of those things where like being a comics creator just takes so much time and energy, and like being a parent takes so much time and energy. So I really needed some place where the two like overlap. And this was just such a, it's a great opportunity. So, we're doing a comic convention this weekend in New Jersey, the Garden State Winterfest. And so one of the days he'll be sitting with me so he can like, like meet people and talk to people and sign things. So he's, so now it's like he's a comics creator too, and he could be there with me and not be like just, that your comic artist's annoying kid that's hanging out with him. It's like, no, Will is part of the team.
Well, I think he wants to follow in his dad's footsteps, which is, I think, is fantastic.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, maybe the industry will change so much by the time he gets to your age. Then it will be a lot of the stuff that you had struggles with. Trying to get jobs won't be a problem anymore. Maybe it'll be different.
Maybe. I mean, who knows what the future is going to be like, especially with technology and publishing and like the readership. I mean, right now, like he's a huge Dogman fan, and everybody in like third grade at his school is just like, it's insane. It's insane how popular Dogman is. So
Yeah.
I've got great hopes for the future of the comics industry and their fan, like the fan, like all these kids. That's how they're learning to read. It's just, what's the next Dogman volume? There's tons of them. So, if I could get in on that a little bit in some way, find that kid audience, like the kid who's already read all the Dogman and Cat Kid books. It's like, well, have you tried Thunder Guardian? So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, let's show them the campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. Am I showing them or are you showing them? I thought,
No,
okay. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. You said we got six. You got 6 days left. You got 103 supporters. You've already surpassed your goal. Wow.
Yeah. And we put, the goal was relatively low because I was like, I'm going to do this anyway. So,
Yeah.
so it's really just a way to get some pre-orders in.
Yeah. Okay. So we got the $6 PDF digital copy. Nice.
Yeah.
The $10 comic. Very nice.
Yep. That's right.
Now the super bundle. What's in that?
It's the comic. It's got a sticker sheet, and then that print I was showing you that I'm working on right now. That is going to be part of that.
Right.
And I think we signed them also. I can't. There is one of these levels we sign them to, but I don't remember. I think it's that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like this realtor bundle. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, the retailer. So if you got a comic book store and you want to get some of this on your shelf, you try to reach out to like a younger audience. And honestly, like as a parent, I go to comic book stores and I'm always looking for something to get for my kids that I know is going to be appropriate and not have like, either Joker ripping his own face off or like, somebody doing some, you know how it can get. And sometimes it's hard to tell just from the cover what the comic is actually going to be like on the inside. So if you're a retailer and you're looking for some age appropriate stuff for like young boys, I think that this would be great for them. So dive in there, man.
I agree.
Yeah, put it up there next to like Garbage Pail Kids or whatever.
Yeah, because I think there should be more kid-appropriate comics in comic stores. We're starting to see that a bit more. They started like doing that like maybe 10 years ago, but they started doing it more and more. So this is a good idea that you have.
I think it's getting better. I mean, I'll tell you, the hard part is just the hardest part, I think, as a parent is just knowing which titles are appropriate for a kid, because it can be so hard to tell. Like, like is a Batman thing can be like him teaming up with Scooby-Doo, or something like that's some serial killer, really creepy, messed up stuff. So, or him with Catwoman on the roof somewhere, it's like you gotta be careful. But also there's I mean, I want to say content, like a format type of thing where a lot of comics are a little bit like brief, and for a kid to read a comic and enjoy it, it's really got to be a complete story, or at least it could end on a cliffhanger, which is always good because they get excited for the next issue, but it's
Yeah.
got to have enough meat in it that they feel like they didn't get ripped off. Because that's definitely happened to my kid a couple of times where he bought some comic and it's like he doesn't really like they don't really do a good job of explaining who the characters are or what they do or why they're doing it, and then it just ends and he's like, "What was that?" And it really turns him off. So it's I think something like this would be like it's not like it's going to be more than one story. It'll be fun. Like there's definitely going to be some fun in there,
Yeah.
and then we're not going to be left feeling disappointed. So
Okay, so we got the add-ons. Two different commissions. One is a head sketch of Thunder Guardian by you, and one by your son. I like this.
Yeah, his are really fun. Like his drawings are great. So
And his is higher than yours.
well, I had another tier that got all bought up already. So, but yeah, I'm a little disappointed in that. Why are more people trying to buy his? Like, come on, man. I've drawn Spider-Man. I've drawn Batman. Who is this kid? He doesn't know anything.
No, but I like that. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you have the signed copies of other comics that you've done, like Batman versus Fortnite, the issues, Deadpool Last Days of Magic, and Bay Veronica, and so on.
Yep, that's right.
And you have your sketchbooks, all 3 volumes. Very nice.
Yep.
Now, obviously, these have been claimed already.
Right. Yeah, I had some higher end commissions that have been bought up already.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
I love the whole elevator pitch. You'll notice, folks, that with elevator pitches, it's usually 1 or 2 sentences. Because, again, elevator pitch, you have to make sure it's short and sweet. The Earth has been destroyed. Civilization has been scattered throughout the solar system. The future of humanity has only one hope: Thunder Guardian. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh, this is your son.
Yeah. So there's a video of him, talking about it and explaining the whole thing, talking about the characters, how we make it. It's a fun video.
Let's play it.
Check out. Okay. I mean, is it going to play streaming like? I mean, it's going to look good. I don't know. Give it a shot. See what happens.
Right.
Well, and I created Thunder Guardian. Let me tell you about Thunder Guardian. Well, he has rock boots and little holes in his gloves like Iron Man to shoot the electricity out of, and then he can fly. So first, I make a character. Then I tell my dad about a good story for them. Then my dad draws them, and then we start selling them at a comic book store. Roblox and Little Bird, Laser and Laser Cut, and Wheeler, Electrocat, and Boxor.
I love the names of the characters.
Yeah.
I just like drawing lightning bolts that don't look like lightning bolts. It should be a blast of electricity, not the Thunder Guardian fighting the unknown, going on adventures and stuff, and fighting other guys that are his friends. No, not his friends. Well, not Thunder Guardian. People blasting people out off of the face of the galaxy, and blowing them out of Earth, and just blasting people mostly. And he blasts people, and Thunder Guardian blasts people with the lightning. Affirmative. Space pirates that look like they're made out of boogers. and wet green slime. One might even about to bust out of my nose. Hope it's not holding a laser sword. So it's the comic strip from a kid in a comic, and it's only $10. You find it on Zoom. However you find that. And it would really be helpful to have more people to get stuff from it. So me and my dad will be signing copies for you and drawing pictures for you of Thunder Guardian characters and other stuff. I don't know now. And ta-da! Thanks for your support.
So there we go. Oh yeah.
Oh man, I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So
Wow.
so it's fun, and it's kind of like, it brings you back to the way you thought of things as a kid and what you thought was cool as a kid, and kind of the weird way that the world made sense or didn't make sense to you when you were a kid. So it's a lot of fun. I don't know. Yeah, check it out. I'm definitely happy to have all the support we can get.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good, great artwork, and even just some of the lines, that I'm reading from the dialogue. Wow.
Thanks. I when I'm writing it, like I don't know how it's like a balance between how much of what like how much to edit of what Will gave me, right? Because
Yeah.
part of the idea is to get like sort of the goofy way he says things and put that down on paper, but also I have to I have to make it make sense and make it fit into the format and stuff like that. So I have to edit to some point, and I think I've eventually kind of figured out a pretty good balance between sense and nonsense, pretty much.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
you have to have a balance with the type of situation because you're like, okay, I get what Will's saying, but how's this going to make sense to other people that doesn't share Will's imagination like this? So how's this
right.
going to make sense?
It would just kind of be like a long run-on sentence that's like stream of consciousness with forgetting and remembering characters. Like I have to there needs to be at least a little bit of consistency to
Yeah.
make it readable. But I'm pretty happy with how it comes along, and the format helps. Like since so much of this started off as a newspaper strip, it's like we really have to make sure each page is its own unit and works well on its own. And I should say that the newspaper strip is probably only going to be about half of the book, and then the
Mhm.
other half is going to be totally new material. There's going to be some sketchbook section and some process stuff, so you could see how Will draws his version of the character, and then I'll take that and draw my version. There'll be some character bios and a couple of like brand new stories in there. Like I want to do one where we switch roles where I write it and he draws it. I think that'll be fun.
Oh,
And
fantastic.
then we're gonna have a chapter where Will's little sister gets in the mix and she helps out tell the story too. So that's gonna be good too.
Wow, you're really becoming a family of creators.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I like it. I like it.
So yeah. So there
Yeah.
you go, my friend. Oh, here are some of the character designs.
Will is very talented.
Yeah.
I honestly could see him, go into his father's footsteps. I mean, come on, how could you
We'll
not?
see. Hopefully.
God, this is a very nice picture of both of you.
Thanks.
Is that him on Thunder Guardian's shoulders?
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so you got 6 days left. I think you're in good shape. I definitely think more people should be hearing about this because this is a great idea.
Thanks, man. Well, help spread the word. Let people know.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks, the link is down below. It's been scrolling the whole entire time. But in case if you didn't see it, it is https zoop.gg c Thunder Guardian, all one word.
Yeah. And if you just go to the Zoop homepage, like you can see it
Yeah.
up there.
Absolutely. And also, don't forget to check out Reilly's own website at ReillyBrownArt.com,
Yep.
which is this right here, where you get to see all these other great decoration pages that he's done, including Thunder Guardian.
Yep.
Yeah, I want this as a print. I want this as a print.
Oh, thanks. But I think that's going to be the cover of the book. So,
Well,
but yeah,
I think it's a great
yeah,
cover. Yeah.
yeah, maybe we'll do a print also. So,
Yeah. Man, this is
so
fantastic.
thanks, man.
Absolutely. I really can't wait to see this hopefully at more comic book shops, maybe in Manhattan, because I'll probably frequently visit there saying, okay, do you have Thunder Guardian? Do you have it?
Hey, yeah, mention it to them. So we'd be happy to send them some copies.
Actually, I would actually gonna talk to Midtown Comics and say, hey, could you put this in there?
Yeah. And I mean, tell them to reach out. You know, maybe we could set up an appearance. Like I'm not that far from Manhattan. So
I will talk to them. I will talk to them.
and as long as it's not during a school day, maybe Will could come also.
Maybe we could pitch for a Saturday. Maybe that's a good idea.
Yeah. But yeah, but yeah, mention it to them. That would be awesome.
Absolutely. Riley, I can't thank you enough for coming on again. Just to talk to me about your wonderful project that you're doing with your son. I'm very excited for you guys.
Thanks, man. Thanks a lot.
Of course.
And so right now the plan is to Will wants to come, or like the whole family is planning on coming out to San Diego Comic-Con this year. So hopefully if everything goes according to plan, this comic will be printed and out by then. So we'll be signing copies there, assuming that we get everything finished in time. So just to put that out there.
Okay, then. Very nice. Do you have any other comic book conventions coming up?
Well, yeah, I've got a bunch on the schedule. I'm not sure how many have actually been announced for yet, but this upcoming weekend I'll be at Garden State Winterfest in New Jersey.
Nice.
That's always a fun small show. Let's see, what else have I got coming up? Planet Comic-Con in Kansas City. I'll be there. I believe I've already been announced for Lexington, the Lexington Comic-Con in Kentucky, which is, I think that's in March. It's either March or April. I think that's in March. And then New Jersey SuperCon or Super Jersey Comic Expo in April. So those are the ones that are on my schedule at the moment.
I'm actually going to that convention. You know, I have a table already there, so maybe I'll see you.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Absolutely. Yeah. I'll be there.
Absolutely. Okay, before we do go, folks, I'd like to plug in my own stuff as always. And showing off my own comic book series, Conan Hunter. It's on diddyplaid.com. We do have a website. It's actually going to come out possibly like late February or early March because I'm still working on it, so don't worry about that. So this is issue 1. It's a sci-fi spy thriller. So imagine James Bond meets Star Trek, Star Wars, and just a dash of Guardians of the Galaxy. And you got Conan Hunter.
Cool.
And we've got the first 3 issues out right now on Indie Planet right now. I'm currently working on the last page of the 4th issue. Thank God. I get sent off to my inker, and then we go on to issue 5. So you're going to be seeing, hopefully, issue 5 at Super Jersey Convention and Indie Comic Convention, which I'm also doing, which is in March. So there's that.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, four issues almost done. See, now when you actually do it, you see how much work it is. It's so easy to say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do a new issue," but it's like, "Oh my god."
No, because I'm writing it, I'm
Yeah.
illustrating it. I've reached a point where like, okay, I have to get outside help to help
Oh
me do
yeah.
this because I used to do it all.
Yeah. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, but it's always worth it. It's always worth it when you see that
It is.
finished product. It's always worth
That's
it.
one of my favorite things is just like starting off the month with like a pile of blank paper, and then by the end of the month having turned it into something that, people want to like hang on their walls and stuff. Like that is so exciting.
Yeah, that reminds me. I need to do more. I need to do more prints. So thank you for
Yes.
reminding me of that.
Yeah.
And one last thing, folks, because obviously, I'm also in the t-shirt merchandise. This is actually one of my shirts. It's
Oh,
actually
cool.
my other character. I'm not sure if you can see it on the screen here. It's called Lil Ian at tpublic.com. Just type in Lil Ian merch and you can find all my designs.
Oh,
This
cool.
is my character, Lil Ian. And this is the New Year's Eve, the New Year's design. And you get this in t-shirts, coffee mugs, pillowcases, cell phone cases, wall art, even sweaters. Oh, and even if you have kids that are in softball, you have softball shirts,
Nice.
as well as some of my Conan Hunter merchandise. So yeah. Well, Riley, I can't thank you again. This was fun.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We comic creators who support each other.
That's absolutely that's true.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, folks. Thank you for joining us. I'm Ian Miller, and this has been Triple Threat Comics YouTube channel. Have a good day.